too. All right, now blunt blowing mama's in the house. Let's get it. All right, and I still got enough to hit it one more time. Let's go. All right. Hey guys, welcome to Blunt Blowing Mama podcast. I am your host, Shanitria. I know you guys, it's been so long since the last time I've done an episode, and even longer since I've done a solo episode. I feel like maybe it's been like a year. And not, I love the podcast. I really do, you guys. It's just that like life has gotten incredibly hectic, and so that's why it's just me here today. And sitting down here, I realized that like, oh shit, like I'm a little nervous. Like I haven't done a solo episode in forever. Like, what should I talk about? What shouldn't I talk about? Getting like in my head about things. And I think that like I want to talk about the things that you guys instructed me to talk about. So, in this particular episode, I'm going to give you guys a life update because you guys want to know what's up with me, and I am going to talk about my trip to Europe that happened this summer because I never really dedicated an episode to that. And just kind of catch you guys up on the podcast. So, let's get into it. I just had like a little hit from my Puffco peak. No, not this is not a peak. This is a proxy. Just to give myself a little courage because and I think that there's something to be said about cannabis helping to create courage. It's not like liquid courage with alcohol, but it's definitely something that I utilize when I don't want to be in my head too much or I want to just do the thing. But I also want to remember the thing and be present for it, which I feel like with alcohol, you do the thing, but then like later you're like, oh shit, I did the thing. You weren't present for it. You don't remember doing it sometimes, but like I want to be here for you guys. So I had my little cannabis courage, and I'm ready to like catch you guys up on my life. So what has happened in like the past few months? Well, why haven't I? Let's start with like why I haven't been posting as much. So I did move. I left LA over the summer. I moved in June and I don't live on the West Coast anymore. And so just doing a move with two kids in itself is just stressful. Like moving is stressful. Moving with two kids, hella stressful. So like that took a lot of my time. Honestly, I didn't plan properly for like the move and like what would happen afterwards with my podcast and with Blunt Blowing Mama. So I thought I had enough episodes in the bank because usually I always have tons of episodes. For the first time since I started this podcast, what like 4 years ago, for the first time in 4 years, I had no podcast episodes. So I eventually ran out and I was like, oh, and like my things were packed. So I was like, oh, and then I was in a new city and I was like, oh, I don't have any podcast episodes. I don't my equipment is packed up and I don't have a studio. This is not good. So like the podcast has been dark like for a while, but doesn't mean that it's over. It just means that, I'm life and like for the first time in 4 years, this podcast has not had a consistent episode every week. And I'm giving myself hella grace with that. I hope that you guys are giving me hella grace. I hope that you forgive me for going ghost and you've been enjoying the old episodes. And I am back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm dedicated to like making sure that for the rest of this year, I got one episode a week for you guys. And so there's that. So my apologies. Okay. Now with the move, where did I move? I know everybody wants to know, like, where did you move? And some of you guys do follow me on my personal Instagram account where I do reveal a little bit more about myself. So y'all know where I live and some of you guys don't. And I did that intentionally because I noticed over the summer as my Instagram account started to grow, as I started to get more like features from press. Like I was on featured in Vox.com in an article this year. I was on Vox's podcast talking about pregnancy and weed. I'm actually featured in this month's issue of Cosmo. I think it's like their August September issue. So I'm featured in this month's issue talking about weed and pregnancy. And like with all of that and like my Instagram page like exploding from 40,000 to like 81,000 and counting because it's still growing. there's been like a lot of like hate. Like I had to turn my comments. I didn't turn my comments off, but I had to limit them so that only my followers could comment, because people were writing really inappropriate and hateful things in the comments or trying to provoke arguments. And it's like, this platform is not about arguing about stuff. This is about being supportive. Like, I can't expect a woman or a mom to open up about their situation, or want to ask questions if they don't feel like it's supportive and safe, because people are saying vile things in the comment section, and the person who has the page is allowing it. And so I was not, y'all know me. I wasn't going for that. So I limited the comments. People did not like that. So they started taking all their hate out on me because I limited the comments. They're like, oh, you turned the comments off. Why'd you, like, sending me DMs like, oh, you turned the comments off? Like, why did you do that? And it's because I wanted to keep everybody safe. And if you're going to say hateful shit, then just say it to me, but don't say it to the community, because, a lot of the women who do follow Blunt Blowing Mama are pregnant or are breastfeeding. And so hormonally, you're delicate. And I don't want you guys to go through any of that. So I can take it. I can take the hate. So it's been directed towards me. But it has been a little alarming. People have taken the time to send me emails about how much they don't like what I'm doing. People have sent me DMs. People have reposted my stories and like said not so nice things in their stories about like my reels or whatever has come across their page. I'm like, first of all, you're taking time to insult me and Blunt Blowing Mama and the platform. And this reel that you don't agree with, but you're also sharing it in your Instagram stories, which basically you're helping more people see it and therefore giving me more views, giving me more shares, and possibly someone who does follow you they might not agree with you and they might come follow me. So appreciate it. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. So I just kind of look at it like that. But all of that was happening, and it just made me kind of a little like weary of sharing my location anymore and being as forthcoming about certain things, because I didn't want people, I don't know, people are weird. Like, people do mean and weird things, especially when you're a Black woman who's talking about things that they don't want you talking about, So I felt like I need to keep that close to the chest, at least while we were going through the move, going through the transition, getting my kids into school, registering. Oh, first of all, you guys, why ain't nobody tell me that when you move, that you got to register your kids in school again? You got to get their old transcripts. You got to do all these things. It's not just like in the past, I would go to it. So when I graduated from college, I went to undergraduate at Georgia State University in Atlanta. You guys know I'm from Georgia. And I graduated college. I was like, 21 years old. I took 1 year off from school after I graduated from college, right? Worked at like an overnight camp in the Poconos, which, Poconos is in Pennsylvania, up in the mountains, and worked there for a summer. And then just like found myself, did some belly button picking for a year, basically. And then decided that did my application, decided to go to grad school, got into Columbia University in New York, moved to New York, lived there 6 years. You guys know the rest, right? But when I did that move, that cross country move from Atlanta to New York, it was just me. And so it was really easy. And then even moving from New York to LA, it was still it was a little hard because I had a kid, I had my partner at the time. And so that was challenging. That was another cross country move. I'm like, why do my moves always have to be so drastic? Right. But that was challenging. But at the time, she was still a little kid. She was 2 years old. My daughter, my oldest, she was 2.5 or something like that. So she was very young. She wasn't even in school yet. So this time to make another cross country move. Yes, I left the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast now. We're getting closer to where I live. I'm telling it. I'm going to tell it. So we made this move, and in my head, I'm like, okay, we just got to move our stuff and move ourselves. No. Now I have to move their education as well. And what school are they going to? And give them the paperwork. And we got to find a new pediatrician for them, because guess what? They need medical records when they start a new school. So I was just bogged down with all of those things while still trying to just to my life and my new schedule and everything. And it was a lot. So, long and short of it is that I don't live in LA anymore. I don't live in California. I don't live on the West Coast. I live on the East Coast now. And I live back in Georgia. Da-da-da, I revealed it. But as you guys can see, I'm still in my old setup because yes, I am still coming out to LA. When I moved, I told everybody else, like, I'm moving, yes, but it's more so for quality of life for my kids. It's so that I can be closer to my family and my parents who are getting older. So I can be closer to my sister who lives in New York. So it's just a quicker flight to see her. It's a drive if we even want to do it. And honestly, traveling, and I love to travel, is not fun when you're flying from LAX and you're trying to get to Europe, or you're flying from LAX and you're trying to get to like Africa. It's really hard because you have to add basically that 4 to 5 hours from LA to the East Coast where you have to make your stop before you can continue to fly wherever you want to go. So like all that stuff was just like, and also there's like not enough Black people in LA. I was just having a hard time. Okay. Like I love LA to pieces. I love it so much. But I knew that as far as like raising a family and just having the life that I want to have right now and the relationship I want to have with my family, that I needed to move. Like I haven't lived home in 13 years. I hadn't visited home in like probably 3 years. So does that make me a bad daughter, friend? Niece, perhaps, or maybe it just makes me busy. And my family really understood, and they were just like, you were living, like it's okay, like you were exploring the world, you were finding yourself, all those things. And so now I'm back home. It's been so good. Like the kids are so happy in Georgia. I'm happy in Georgia. Like, but I still miss LA. And so I'm coming out here periodically to get my little LA fix. And this is where, the podcast home still is. And so, I will still technically be in LA. I guess I'm bi-coastal in a sense. But I feel like to be bi-coastal, you have to have residence in two places. And I don't have residence in two places yet. But yeah, my family is in my home base now is Georgia, and my work is still here in LA. So that's how that's rocking right now, if you guys are wondering. But just cost of living in Georgia is cheaper, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all already know it's expensive. And I want to, make my dollar stretch. Like, I was tired of living paycheck to paycheck like I was in LA. Like, I work hard, and I wanted to like see my money at the end of the day. I wanted to be able to go do things and travel more and not be like, oh, like, how am I going to pay for rent? Or I got to pay for this first. I got to pay for that. And then there's no time for fun. And for me, I'm all about working hard, but playing hard as well. So all those things kind of went into like my thoughts and decision of moving to Georgia. So that's what happened. That's what's up with the podcast. That's what's up with the move. It's just been like a crazy, crazy time. I don't know, like just all these transitions. As you guys know, like me and my former significant other, maybe you guys don't know. Well, if you follow me on Instagram, then you have some idea, but you guys probably want the tea. You want the details. So we definitely broke up a year ago. And well, I broke up with him a year ago in like October of last year. And it's October 1st today. Even though by the time you guys listen to this episode, it won't be October 1st, but just for like reference, it's October 1st today. And I broke up with him in October of last year. So it's been a year. And it's been not like what most people would expect a breakup to look like. And I think that's also why I've been taking a lot of time to myself and vacationing a lot and just doing a lot of things. It's just because like I realized that like I was trying to, so now we're going to transition into the life update part. Okay. Just a little update so we can keep the flow going so you guys can know that I'm hitting all the points. Okay. Yeah, I just realized that like I was trying so long to do like relationships like I saw them growing up, or like I like not just in real life saw, but like on TV and in the movies. And there's this one way to do marriage and one way to do relationships and one way to do love and have a family. And I was trying so hard to do it that way and it wasn't working. And I was just like, you know what? Like I'm breaking my back. I'm busting my ass to have like this perfect relationship and to make this shit work. And it wasn't. And I was just like, you know what? I want to let it go. Like, so that literally letting it go for me meant letting him go, letting the relationship go, letting any hopes, dreams, and goals and whatever I had with that relationship go, and just let that shit die, because that relationship just was not serving me. It was making me sick, like physically sick. Like my body was aching. My mental health wasn't in a good place. And it was because of the relationship. Like I had to admit, like, oh, the relationship is the problem here. Like, what are you going to do about it, Shanitri? Are you going to continue to stay in this relationship and make yourself sick and make yourself mentally unwell? Or are you going to put yourself first and practice what you preach on this Blowing Mama platform? And for the first time in your life, do something for you. And okay, yes, I do a lot of things for me. But when it came to like love and relationships, I always felt like, as a woman, like I have to like sacrifice, and I have to like, you know what? I thought I mistaken compromise for sacrifice. And so I thought that I was compromising a lot in the relationship because that's what you do, but actually I was sacrificing. And that's why I had so much resentment. Right. And none of that bodes well for a relationship. And when you start to do a lot of sacrificing over the years, you build up, or at least in my case, I built up a lot of resentment. And when I had so much resentment in my heart that there was no more room for love, like I had literally been harboring resentment for years. And then that resentment kind of also had a little bit of anger attached to it. So it was just not good for my spirit. And I had to let it go. So I let it go. And what followed was a year of an interesting turn of events. So I ended the relationship, but we were still living together. And I know that is so messy. That is so messy. But like when I ended things, he was just like, well, I need to move out. Like I need to. And then for a while I was like, yeah, you do need to move out. But then I thought about it and I was just like, we still have kids. Like we made this decision to have not one, but two kids together. There's just no way. Like I don't want to be a single parent, and you don't want to be a single parent. Like, and at the end of the day, I think what hurt me the most was that like I have felt so much betrayal, and just I had so much resentment and anger towards someone that I really deeply consider and still do consider my best friend. And so it's like there's something to be said about like grieving the end of a relationship, but also like knowing that like this person's your best friend. So and I wanted to him to do well, and I wanted to see him do well, and I still had that love for him. And also this is the father of my kids. Like just because we're not working out or we're having issues right now doesn't mean that like I want my kids to kind of suffer, so to speak. As long as we're not arguing in front of them, which is a big thing for me, then I felt like it would be healthy if we just stayed in the home. And another part of me, I still wanted I didn't want the relationship, like the old relationship, but I wanted to see like what he's doing. Like, is he changing? Is he actually, doing all these things that he says that he's doing? Okay, let's date. Let's become friends again, like better friends. Like, let me see, I just wanted to kind of work on that while also really like putting myself and my business and my interests and my kids forefront, and like not have a relationship above that. Because before I used to be like relationship, okay, now kids and and then like my businesses and work and then me. That's a horrible hierarchy. So I had to rearrange some things through the relationship the fuck out. Like, whoops, bye relationship. So we said bye to the relationship. I decided to put myself first. I decided to, then after I do, my kids are there. So it's me, my kids, my businesses, okay? And then like love life stuff, right? So that's all the way at the bottom rung now because I threw the relationship out. I threw all that out. And yeah, what had happened was it actually worked to an extent. Like, once I can't overstate enough like how my life literally shifted once I just let go of that old relationship with him. And like everything turned around. Like so many good things started happening in my life. And I was just like, oh my fucking God. Like I was the problem. Like very Taylor Swift, like it's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It was me. Like, I was trying to blame him and the relationship and like, oh, the Instagram algorithm for why Blunt Blowing Mama isn't doing well. And oh, it's this and that. And like, it was me. Like, I was intentionally putting all my focus into a failing relationship instead of focusing on myself. Because when I focus on myself, then everything else around me flourishes. But instead, I was like, no, I have to fight for this. Like, fuck that relationship. So once I said fuck that relationship, then I was able to like really start to flourish for me. Like so many good things started to happen. Cosmo reached out like not too long afterwards, like, hey, we're working on this article. We want you to be featured in the magazine. Cool. Okay. I got another interview with Vox. I was like, oh, cool. I got an idea for a story that I'm working on and still working on. It will be publishing by the end of the year with Huffington Post, about Black postpartum moms who smoke weed. That got greenlighted. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is really exciting. And then on top of that, my page started to grow a little bit more. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then like we moved from LA to Georgia and got a bigger place. And like the kids have their own rooms. And like I started dating and like having fun with that. I went on solo trips. Like my life just like opened up. Like I was working out and then I kind of stopped. So I got to start working out again. But that's a whole nother story. But I was taking care of myself. Like I was like really like listening to myself, doing like facials at home, you know, like exfoliating my skin in the shower and just really like loving on me and listening to myself and having amazing psychedelic journeys and just really like putting myself first in every sense of the word. Like, and there's so many things that I realized that I did in the relationship that was like at the detriment of me. So there were things that I would do, like for instance, at the end of the night when the kids would go to bed, when we were together, I would like rush to like do my like nighttime routine. So I would like take a really quick shower instead of like luxuriating in the shower and like unwinding in the shower. I would take a quick shower and I would like skip like maybe my face routine or make it like really short, my skincare routine. I would like just like little things that I would usually do to make me happy. Like instead of like filing my nails to make them look nice, I would just like go and like so that I can hurry up and like be with him and spend time with him at night and unwind together and watch TV on the couch instead of like, you know, doing work on Blunt Blowing Mama, or instead of reading a book, or instead of doing like a journal entry, which is stuff that I really would choose to do with my evening. But because of the relationship, I decided that, oh, like I'm not going to do that stuff because I need to be a good girlfriend, and good girlfriends like are always there and front and center for their relationship. So I was front and center for my relationship, but I was not front and center for myself. So therefore, I was just doing myself a huge ass disservice, the relationship a disservice, and him a disservice. Because I'm sitting here like, well, you're the reason why I'm not able to work on this, and you're the reason why my skin looks like this. And it's just like, no, Shanitria, you're the reason why, because you're making. He's not telling you to do these things. He's not telling you to like abbreviate your nighttime unwind time. That's like the only time you get because that's when the kids are asleep. That's when I don't have to really answer the emails or anything like that. Like, why am I prioritizing him? I'm making that decision and he's not telling me to do it. I'm telling me to do it. So I had to really like face some really hard truths about that. But once I started to like, the first time I like just took my time at night after the kids went to bed and I was just like, I put a sheet mask on and I was like writing in my journal. I do that some nights. I'll like read a book. I was just like, damn, like this was me. Like I missed you, girl. Welcome back. And it's just really unfortunate that I kind of lost sight of myself in the midst of a relationship that wasn't even working, and I was trying to make it work, but all I was doing was hurting myself. And so it took me a really long time to see that. But now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. Like I can't unknow this information. And I'm super grateful for that because that's the reason why I'm here today and in such great spirits and just like feeling much better overall. So I'm really happy for the growth. It's the growth for me. So I mean, so where does that leave things now, right? So it was hard. Like Jared was not happy about not being together but still living together, and it looked weird to people on the outside who just weren't really understanding like what we were doing. And I realized that like it does not matter. If nobody understands what you're doing, it does not matter. Okay. Like, do what you need to do and go to the beat of your own drum, because nobody's going to be in that relationship but you. Nobody's going to be in that house but you. Like, you know what your life is set up like. You know the life that you want to live. Like, so you need to take the steps to make that shit happen. And that's what I was doing. And I wanted him to know, like, we're gonna live together and we're gonna raise these kids and we're gonna work on our friendship, and I'm gonna date other people and I'm gonna do things for me. I'm gonna go on solo vacations. I'm gonna put myself first. I'm gonna date me. Like, I'm gonna like get to know myself. Like, I'm not prioritizing you anymore. But do I still want to see you? Of course, you know what I'm saying? So yes, I wanted my cake and I wanted to eat it too. Sure. But I really explained to him that, like, look, like, we were together since I was 23 years old. Close, and I'm 35 now. So we were together in that relationship for almost 11 years. And or yeah, 11, I can't count, but I think it was 11. And I told him, I was like, I was loyal to only you for all of that time. Like, I was only checking for you. I wasn't trying to go out with nobody else. I wasn't like cheating on you or anything like that. I was super loyal, super dedicated to this relationship, even though we weren't married, right? And that was my decision, by the way, to not be married, and very glad I made that decision. But I was so loyal to that. And unfortunately, it didn't really like, it didn't serve me, because at the end of the day, I was just like, oh, I think I missed out on some stuff, because he's only like the second real relationship I've ever had. And I was just like, I think I've missed out on some things. Like, I think I've missed out on dating. I think I've missed out on like getting to know myself through dating people and getting to know what I would like in a relationship through dating. Like, I didn't have boundaries until like 3 to 4 years ago, when I sat down and wrote in my journal, like, these are my boundaries. These are the traits and the characteristics and the values that I want in a future husband and a partner. And realizing that, like, I don't want a man, I want a partner. Like, I want a partner. I want somebody who's going to work with me. I want somebody that, like, I can come home and I can feel soft and vulnerable, because I'm out in the world and I got to be tough and I got to be, I got to, be strong, and I got to, make decisions, and I got to, I do a lot of things in my day-to-day life outside in the world, and that's okay. But when I come home, I want to be able to take that armor off. I want to be able to be soft. I want to be protected. I want to feel safe. I want to be vulnerable. I want to cry. I want to be angry. I want to throw things. I want to be upset. I want to have the full range of emotion and be allowed that, but still know that I can safely do that here in my home. So I had to create that space. I realized that that is not something that just magically shows up. And so I've been creating that space. I'm still creating that space. And he's actually kind of part of that now. It was not easy at first. He was not with it. He wanted to get back together. He wanted to move out. I wanted him to move out. Um, he was doing therapy, and that helped tremendously. I bought this deck of cards that my friend introduced me to, that was like a relationship deck, and it helped us like ask each other questions and dig deeper in ways that we never did before. And we've been really patient with each other and giving each other hella grace when sometimes you slip up. It's like, I'm healing. I'm on this journey. I'm trying to communicate better. I'm trying to express my feelings better. Like him, especially, like trying to express his feelings better and be vulnerable and dig deep. And when I say, like, why does this bother you? Like, what's wrong? Like, what did I do? Or like, what's coming up for you right now? Him being able to instead say, like, well, when you do that, I feel like, no, like when you do that, then I think that it's just, and I want you to apologize. And it's like, no, like, how are you feeling? Like, what's in your heart? Like, what is this bringing up for you? And now he can actually dig in that place and be introspective and say, like, I feel, and identify an emotion. I feel annoyed. I feel angry. I feel scared. I feel upset. I feel irritated. I feel frustrated. I feel annoyed or happy or, sad. Like, he can bring up a feeling and then say, it's because you said this. And when I was a kid, my XYZ, my mom, my dad would do this. And so that reminds me of that. And I would rather be, handled this way. And him speaking like that helps me to get to know him in a really big way. But also, him doing that and then me doing that, we're modeling a behavior for our kids. And so that feels really full circle healing. And seeing him do that and practice that and want to do that, not just for me and for the chance to get back together, because yes, that I know that's in his head as well, but knowing that it's improving his life and his communication with other people and career wise, that is just like, it's really amazing to see him changing in that way and seeing the real life results from what happens when you do decide to shift your mindset and shift the way you approach people and communicate with people and the way you take care of yourself. He's been working out. He's been like doing all these things. I'm like, oh, okay. He's really also putting himself first. And I think that in order for people, like two people to come together and have a whole fulfilling partnership, marriage, relationship, you each need to come as whole as possible. Even if you're not whole, you're 75% there and you're still working on it and you're focused on it, and the other person is 85% there. They're 85% whole and they're focused and they're working on it. You come together and it's like iron sharpens iron. So like, where I'm weak, you're able to kind of help me a little bit, and where you're weak and struggle and have challenges, you're able to help, and then we come together and we're like, it's like it's like superpowers. It's amazing. So I think that it's unfair to ask people to come to a relationship where like you can't get married if you're not 100% healed, or because nobody's 100% healed, or if you're 100% whole. You're just as close to whole as you can be, and you're working on it and you're dedicated to that work. And I think that if you're that, then you're ready for, love and partnership and marriage. And so we weren't there, and we were trying to make a relationship work, even though like we weren't working on ourselves and we weren't even whole ourselves. So we're, in a way we were looking to each other to complete the other, to make me feel whole. And he was looking at me to make him feel whole when like we weren't even whole ourselves. So just a lot of like lessons that I've learned and what we've been doing. And now, as of now, we're still not together, but we are dating. And that's been fun to like date and get to know him now as we're both in our 30s and we're much more mature. And it's been really nice to know him and to just talk about the old relationship. And I'll just be like, yeah, my past relationship. And he'll be like, I was the ex. Like, I'm the ex. I'm the past relationship. I'm like, I just want to give you like, for like, like this is what you do when you're dating somebody. You talk about the ex, you talk about the past relationship sometimes. And, it's just so I can give you an idea of what I don't want and what I do want going forward, or what I learned from that. And like what I'm, so but so that's been like really cool. And I'm glad that he's able to approach and do that, because I think that sometimes in life, we just don't give people a chance to show us that they've made those changes. We don't give people a chance to like show up in that new version of themselves. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to take you back. We're going to be together after this deal breaker was broken, or after you hurt me or I hurt you. And then you're throwing it into each other's faces all the time. So it's like, you're not over it. You haven't forgiven. You haven't moved past it, because you're still knocking them in the face with this mistake they made 5 years ago. Like, just let it go. Like, let them, like, they don't have to be in your life anymore if you're going to keep knocking them over the head with that old version of themselves, because we all have the old, unevolved, unhealed, need some therapy version of ourselves. And when you're moving forward and you're not that person anymore, the last thing you need is somebody reminding you of how you used to be such a fuck up. Like, like when you're trying to move forward. And so with him, I was just like, that's an old relationship. We threw that relationship out. I'm single. You're single. Like, I'm dating the man who's in front of me. I'm not going to talk about your past, like, unless you want to talk about, like childhood things or whatever. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, you broke a deal breaker for me. And so I don't know if I can trust you. It's like, no, I can't show up like that. I'm showing up like, who is this man in front of me today? Like, what are your goals? Because people's goals change and his goals have changed, and so have mine. And like, who are you? What do you want? Like, how does that fit into my life? What are your values now? What are my values? Like, what have you learned from past relationships? Like, what are your goals now? And like, where you want to, do you want a wife? And like, what does marriage mean to you? What does that look like? And having those conversations based on who we are today, not who we were when we met, when we were both like in our 20s, right? Because we've evolved, we've changed. So I'm grateful for that. Like, hella grateful for that. Hella grateful for growth, and hella grateful that he gets it now. He's like, okay, I'm gonna date you and I'm gonna win you back, and you're gonna be my girl again, and then you're gonna be my wife. And I'm just like, okay. slow down, because like I gotta agree to these things. But like, and I'm still going on my dates. I actually went on a date while here in LA. But I'm still going on dates. I told him, I was like, yeah, man took me out to dinner and it was great. And I was like, he was like, oh really, so you weren't gonna tell me? And I'm like, I just told you. So I think that there's a lot of like ethicalness. Somebody said like I'm practicing ethical non-monogamy now, and I guess like if you want to put a label on it, then perhaps that's what it is. But all I'm doing is what's making me happy and following my heart, and not listening to anybody else, because what I'm doing is working and it's healing me and it's empowering me. And, being with the same man for all of my 20s and a good little chunk of my 30s, I realized that like, I don't really know what men are like. Like, I don't really know like what's out there, like what I like and what I don't like. But when I go on these dates, I'm able to see that like, ooh, like this guy, I hope he doesn't listen to the podcast. This guy, like we went out to a restaurant that I really love here in LA. He's a white guy, and I've never dated a white guy before, but he was really cool. He's a fisherman. So all he talked about was fish. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is boring. But what really got me is that like, and he ordered fries and he put like the salt on his plate. Like he just shook like a pile of salt onto his plate. And then he dipped his fries in the salt. And I was like, oh, hell no, sodium much? Like, no, we're not compatible. Like your health is going to be failing in a few years if you don't like figure some shit out. So like, and Jared doesn't do that. And I'm not comparing people to Jared. No, I'm not doing that. But in my head, I was just like, yeah, I don't want a man who doesn't value his health. Like health is really important to me. So like seeing that helped me to see that like, okay, I need to add that to my list. Like, a man who values his health and who eats well and who knows how to eat well and who isn't pouring piles of salt onto their plate on a date, like first date, and you're showing me this side of you? Like, we were high. We get stoned before we went to the restaurant. So maybe he was just really relaxed and his guard was down. And I was just like, he was probably the munchies, but like, I was just like, this is not what I want. But me having these experiences is helping me to see like what I do want in a man, what I don't want in a partner, like what is attractive, what's not attractive, like the things that I thought that it would be like the big draw for me, those things don't even matter. Like looks don't matter as much. I mean, they matter, but like, there's things that have more importance to me when I'm talking about like who's going to be my next partner. And dating has helped me get a lot closer to that, and just dating Jared as well. I'm not looking for anybody's approval. I'm not looking for any comments. I'm not looking for any suggestions. I'm just living my life and I'm really fucking happy with it. Thank you very much. And that's the life update. Like that's what's been going on. And I'm really happy. I know a lot of you guys have said that you're happy for me as well. And it just feels really good. It feels really, really good. I realized I did not talk about my European vacay on this episode, so I will have to do that on the next episode. And I think that'll tie in better with like having that psychedelics conversation with you guys, which is what I'll also be chatting about in the next episode. But this episode feels like a good, like, I'm sorry I was gone. You know what I'm saying? But a bitch is back. And a lot's been happening in my life, as you can tell, but it's all really good, happy, healthy changes. And I'm just so grateful to be 35, alive, and not doing the same shit I used to do. Like, amen, hallelujah, praise God. We are learning, we are growing, we are thriving, and I am not doing that same as dumb bullshit because everybody said that's what you should do. No, I'm doing it my way, and it feels really good. I encourage you to do the same. Mama Stash membership is back. I finally got it back up and running. We're having our sessions again. I know it's been just like so crazy. I had to drop a lot of things to like get my life together and to do this move and make sure I was really there for my kids the way I need to be. But Mama Stash membership is back. So you can definitely always go to mamastashmembership.com, or you can click the link on Blunt Blowing Mama's bio on Instagram, and you'll get more info about, or you can just look in the show notes and get more info about joining the membership. It's a community of women and moms who are, pro cannabis. You have direct access to me. So please don't send me a DM on Instagram. I will not see it. But if you join Mama Stash, you do have the opportunity to not only chat with me, but other women and moms who are cannabis consumers and going through the same experiences with you. You'll have access to all all of my pregnancy and cannabis and all my breastfeeding and cannabis workshops. And then you'll also have, you know what I'm saying, like access to sessions where we're seshing. So you have access to community and you can post what's going on with you. You can post what weed strain you're smoking. It's a community of women. It's a safe space. It's away from algorithms. It's away from social media. So definitely consider joining Mama Stash if that sounds interesting to you. The workshops are also still always available to get yourself a pregnancy and cannabis workshop or a breastfeeding and cannabis workshop. And you can find those via the link in the bio of Blunt Blowing Mama's Instagram page or in the show notes. But I always have those resources available for you guys. So please tap into them and take advantage of them. I speak with medical experts. I'm sharing my own experiences in these workshops, and I'm also sharing the experiences of other women. And as always, please rate and review this podcast. Please subscribe, send it to a friend, and write some reviews. You guys, I think I have like 3 reviews from 2023. So if you feel like you got any value or like you just learned anything from the podcast in the past or it's helped you. And a lot of you guys have sent me DMs saying how it helped you, but you don't write a review. So please write a review. And yeah, I appreciate you guys going on this journey with me. The podcast is still going strong. This is my 3rd kid. I always say that. And I'm just so grateful for it. So thank you so much for rocking with me. Thank you so much for waiting for me to come back and finally do a solo episode. It's here. And, the energy and the vibe going forward from 35 and on, age 35, look at me, is just like being true to yourself and bucking tradition if you need to and doing what you got to do while also smoking some fucking weed. Period. All right. That's it. I'm done. Thank you guys. Bye.